Hello guys, welcome back to our web development course using ChatGPT, Ruby on Rails and React. In the last lecture, we created a React component to create new employees and then we sent the data, I mean the form data to the Rails backend and it's saved into the database. Okay. Now in this lecture, we will understand some events. Okay. For example, go to the your component that we created in the last lecture, that is employee new form, and here you can see that we are using two events like the onChange event, and here we dedicated a function that is handle change, and here in the onSubmit event that we have a dedicated function handle submit here. Okay, so now it's time to understand that how it is working, because it is very important to understand that if ChatGPT is giving you a solution, that is fine, but you must be able to understand that how this solution has been built. For example, if you know do not have support of ChatGPT, then you must know the every basic detail of your component that you build for the React part, or whatever the coding snippet you are using from somewhere. You must have idea that what each and every line and every component of or every piece of that snippet is doing. Okay, so with regard to that, we will understand here that what the handle submit is doing here. Okay, so let's just switch to the chat gpt and here come here, and now what we will ask that can you please explain that what is handle submit event is doing here. Okay, you can see that this is the chat that we used to create the employee form. Okay, so we can just prompt this here. So you can just prompt this question to the chat gpt, and then chat gpt will start explaining that what each and every line of the function is doing. So here you can see the handle submit function is an event handler for the form submission. Okay, the form submission means when you fill the form and try to click on the submit button, this event will be invoked. Okay, in React, when a form is submitted, it triggers the on submit event. Okay, and the on submit event you need to mention within the form itself, I mean in the form attribute as the I mean in the form element as the attributes. Here you can see that on submit is an attribute or event handler, okay, which will be invoked when you submit the form. Okay, and when you submit the form, it will invoke some function which is assigned for this event. Okay, so here in our case it is the handle submit. And now come to here, in this case this is the handle submit is that function. Here is breakdown of what handle submit is doing. Okay, so it takes an event object e as the parameter. Here you can see that it is taking the as the parameter, and this is known as event. Okay, whatever you're performing with your element. Okay, so you are performing some events and it is taking that event argument. Okay, and now you can see it calls prevent a default. This is important because it prevents the default behavior of form submission, which is to reload the page. Okay, like the default behavior of an HTML form is whenever you click on the submit, it should reload the browser DOM. Okay, so e.prevent default is used to prevent the default behavior of your element. Like you can perform this event dot prevent default behavior on the links as well. Like what is the default behavior of an anchor tag or a link in the HTML? Whenever you click a link, it will redirect you on a different page. Okay, so you can use event dot prevent default to prevent its default behavior. Okay, in a single page like React, you typically don't want the page to reload when a form is submitted because it disrupts the user experience. Inside the try block, it makes an asynchronous request to the backend using Exos. Okay, here you can see that in the try block, what it is doing, it makes an asynchronous request to the backend using Exos. In this example, it sends a post request to the employee endpoint with the form data. Okay, and upon successful submission, when promise returned by Exos post resolves, it logs the response data to the console. Okay, like however you can skip this part as well if you wish to understand. Like we simply know that console.log is a way to produce the output on the browser console in the using the javascript. Okay, so whenever you submit a response, you can see the response in your backend application. Okay, and then it will come to the set form data. Okay, so here what we are doing, that we are resetting the form after successful submission. Okay, And upon successful submission, when the promise returned by exos post, it logs, sorry, this could be useful for okay here. Optionally, it retains the reset the form data state to clear the form fields. This is done by setting form data to be an empty object or resetting individual form fields to their initial values. Okay. And in summary, handle submit is responsible for handling the form submission, sending the form data to the backend, and optionally performing action based on the response from the server. Okay, now it is clear that what the handle submit is doing here. Now let's ask that what this function is doing, the handle change. Okay, so we can simply ask to the chat gpt, can you also explain. Okay, so chat gpt will explain the handle change now. So let's get this response generation to be finished. Okay. So it is finished now. You can see the handle change function is another event handler, but this one is for handling changes in the form input fields. Okay. And here you can see clearly that in the form, every attribute, I mean the every input box or every input control has this on change event handler, and we are handling it using the handle change function here. Okay, here you can make your handle change name like handle form change or handle input change or handle attribute change, anything. Okay, let's come to the chat gpt again. In react, when an input field value changes, it triggers the on change event. Okay, like if you are typing something in the input box, it is triggering the on change event on every type, on whenever you type every character. Okay, it triggers the on change event, and you can specify a function to handle this event. In this case, handle change is that function. Here is a breakdown of what handle change does. So it takes an event object e as the parameter. However, it is not mandatory to use only e, you can use the complete name event as well. Okay, and then it extract the name and value of input field that triggered the change event from the event object. Okay, and then it updates from the data state form data using the set form data function from the use state hook. Okay, it spreads the existing form data object and update the property corresponding to the changed input field using component property syntax, which is e dot target name colon e dot target value. Okay, target name is the name attribute of the input box. Okay, here you can see that here it is taking e dot target dot name and e dot target dot value. Okay, so this is the name, this is the value. Okay, and whenever handle change is called, form data state with the new value of the input field. Okay, I mean, for example, whenever this input change, I mean the on change event will be called. Here you can see that we defined the form data with empty attributes like first name last name. So whenever the on event, sorry, the on change event will call this handle change function, it will set the value for the form fields, which are these in our case like first name last name email and so on. Okay, in summary, handle change is responsible for updating the form data state whenever the user types in an input field. It allows React to track the state of the form and enables you to access the latest form data when the form is submitted. Okay, so here the handle change and handle submit buttons are clear now. So now if you face a condition where you need to implement manually these kind of functions like handle changes, handle submit, you can do this without using the help of chat gpt as well. Okay, but of course if you have the tool to support you, then why not to use that. Okay, so for this lecture, what was my main objective, that whenever you help of chat gpt, take help of from chat gpt and you use any already existing snippet into your code, you must have idea that what every each and every piece of that snippet is doing. And if you do not have, you need to understand that what it is doing, because it will help you when you have to change something into the snippet that you are taking from somewhere. Okay, so that was the purpose of this lecture. In the next lecture, we will implement the edit form functionality. Okay, like here you can see that right now we have the new employee page. Okay, or we have the show employee page. Okay, and we also have the employee list page. Now we will add a link here. Okay, in the next lecture, that we will redirect us to a form where we can edit the existing employee information. Okay. Meanwhile, try this lecture at your end. Try to understand each and every piece of your employee new form component, and we will meet into the next lecture. Till then, Tata, goodbye, take care, stay safe.